I'm going to show everybody just some of the stuff that I would lose. This shit was a gift. I don't know. I've been using it as a box, but it's a cigarette case, but there's no cigarettes in it. It's just a little storage box. This I'm trying to make into a taser. A little more work to go. Anyway, so yeah, those are my tools, and more tools is about a couple $1,000 worth of needs and essentials. Propane tanks, torches, tools, water boilers, drills, toilet equipment, wrenches, just everything you would need. A heated jacket by DeWalt bag. My medical files are in there and in the bag. And all this is going most likely in the dumpster when they push me off the grid, because I have nowhere to put it, and I'm going to be living illegally in the woods as soon as they push me off the grid, not by choice. They're just going to keep me moving, telling me, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving for week after week, not letting me sleep. Anytime I try to stop at a shelter, they won't let me stay there as soon as my disabilities become apparent. So, yeah. Unless I find a place to move into from this place while I'm super sick and on top of my disabilities have new problems, unless the last 25 years of problems, the last 20 years of problems, the last 3 years of problems, 2 years and 1 year of problems, there's no fucking way I can work my way out of this. Now, my plan originally when I came up here was just to try to work as hard as I could and go to the doctors and file for Social Security. That was my original plan, but after a while I figured out I had to adjust it, and I could keep this apartment if I just hurt myself. Sorry, I meant work. Oh yes, I meant injure myself for money. Oh wait, no, I meant work. Sorry, I did it again. I meant make sure I get injured while going to work by just walking and doing things that I know I'm not supposed to do, like triggering my neurological disorder, stretching while my kidneys are failing, trying to lift while there's bleeding internally going into my testicles, having the flu and being forced trying to leave and stay home so that way you don't spread the flu, but then they tell you you're fired and nobody will let you go and you have no transportation, walking on the side of the road having seizures while car runs your hair over, then the next day doing the same thing over and over, ambulances scraping you off the side of the road, and then just going to work the next day and doing the exact same thing that the ambulance had to bring you for in the first place, having smashes across bureaus where your head just gets smashed from a seizure, meanwhile your roommate goes crazy, and then for 2 days you bleed out, you end up in the hospital, and you still try to go back to work. And I call that working while getting injured. But you can call it whatever you want. You can call it self-harm, you can call it whatever you want, but I'm being forced to do it. Don't think I'm choosing the work. It's either work or die in the woods. Those were my choices. Now I'm too injured to even stretch for a pack of cigarettes. So now I'm literally all the time too injured to even get to work or do my job. So before, I was just guaranteed to get more injured if I went to work. I told the doctors this. I told everybody. With 25 years of disabilities, when people go through the disabilities I have and they're not getting treatment and they try to walk in the storms and they're going around trying to work 40 hours, 30 hours, paying bills like I have thanks to today's society, usually they get fucked up and put in a wheelchair permanently. I told them this. And now I'm pissing black. I got a GI disorder. I've had multiple seizures. I got scars all over me. The good news is I still love working. I just have to fix this. I got to get myself on Social Security. And then my plan is to work lots of hours on weekends. If I get hurt, then I got to cut it out. But if I don't get hurt, try to keep on adding on hours. And if I get hurt, what I know I will eventually if I push it, then I have the Social Security, so that way my life just I don't get killed or hurt seriously just because I'm disabled. I'm also getting discriminated against, like I can't use a shelter due to my disabilities not being documented. Just because I have a disability, they won't let me come back in after my disability is visible. After they see my disabilities, they want to call an ambulance. But when you can't walk and you have no previous record of these disabilities and you're telling them you're having problems with your nervous system in the mornings, and they send you to the emergency room, we don't know. Sounds like something in the nervous system, but we don't know. And then you go back to that shelter. They don't let you back in. And then what does the shelter say? He was probably just stubborn. He's probably one of these crazies. And then when they tell you you have to take a shower or you're not allowed to stay here, so you say, okay, you go down to the shower, you find out it's just cold water. You go up and say, is it just cold? Because I have a problem with cold. Well, everybody got a problem with cold. Go back down there. And you go, oh, I can't be thrown out. If I do that, I'll really die at 0 degrees outside. Okay. So you go downstairs, you run the shower, you have a seizure, you fall on the ground, you have a seizure naked. Eventually somebody finds you, they call an ambulance. They don't know what's going on. You're having trouble speaking. They release you because they think you're just some naked guy wanting to get fucked up the ass or something. They have no clue what's going on. You eventually tell them that you don't know. You just went unconscious. You started having this same issue. You told them, you have these tics and muscle spasms when you're cold. You don't do cold and something happens. But then you woke up on the ground really hurt. And you tell them this. And they send you back to the shelter. And the shelter won't let you in. So now you got to live in the woods at 0 degrees. But first you try to stay on a bench. You try to sleep on a bench, but then the cop tells you he's going to arrest you. Keep it moving. So then you go to a public park. Then a police officer says he's going to arrest you. Keep it moving. So then you try to go at Dunkin' Donuts. You give them the last of your money. They give you 15 minutes. You haven't finished your coffee. They called the police because they said you stayed too long, even though you're a customer just sitting there. And they tell you to keep it moving. You keep it moving for a week straight. Then you eventually collapse. They bring you to the hospital. They release you literally in a couple hours. Now you got to figure something out. They tell you they're going to arrest you if you collapse again. So at this point, you just collapse into the woods as deep as you can get. This is the rest of my life. This is my future. This is what will happen as soon as I get pushed off the grid. But I know who's responsible, not me. I definitely didn't make myself disabled for 25 years. 7-year-olds aren't going around making themselves disabled and not getting help with it. No, somebody has to make other decisions to make sure a 7-year-old doesn't get help with a neurological disorder. Decisions like moving him halfway across the country, stopping doctors from continuing seeing the patient, stopping teachers from seeing the patient, moving him to multiple different states. You can traffic him. You can try to cut off doctors. You can limit his education. You can lie to the child. You can confuse the child. You can beat the child. You can try to lie to the doctors, convincing them that your child has a mental illness, convince them your child's a liar in a fantasy. When your child talks about this, it's harder for anybody to help your child. And this is one way you could probably get away with fucking up your kids and really destroying, like if you did an overdose and your kid got brain damage or something. That's how one way you could get away with it. That's how my mother got away with it. That's how my father's still trying to get away with it. I'm hoping one day he calls me, because what he doesn't realize is nothing is even going to happen to him. He's 88 years old. He has money. I'm willing to work with him. I got forgiveness for him. But if I have to go off the grid, I'm handling this my way. People are getting chopped up in pieces. That's not really what I'm going to do. But whatever I can do is going to be done. And if I'm living off the grid, moving state to state, dying, going through ambulance to ambulance, from hospital to hospital, meanwhile they keep on fucking with me. Meanwhile, I got black urine coming out of here, blood coming out of here. I got scars over here, bleeding over here. This limb doesn't work. This limb doesn't work. This arm doesn't work. This finger doesn't work. And it's been happening for 25 fucking years. You better believe I'm going to track down the motherfuckers that are responsible.